start off, your thoughts on the decision of the judge.
Well, I'm disappointed in the process. As you could tell by my submissions, we all have a vested interest in court system working properly and the evidence going in properly and everyone doing their job. And as I indicated in my submissions, I found that I didn't feel that it was a level playing field in this particular case. And I felt an obligation to bring it to the attention of the court and to make the submissions that I did. I knew that the likelihood of the judge declaring a mistrial at this stage after the jury had rendered a verdict was very slim, very unlikely. But I still felt, as a lawyer on behalf of Mr. Cowan, that these things had to be aired, they had to be presented to the court and part of a record that can go on then to the Court of Appeal if that's the jurisdiction that has to deal with it.
Are there plans for an appeal on the conviction in this case?
Absolutely. I've arranged that Mr. Cowan is going to have Mr. James Lockyer as his appellate counsel. And Mr. Lockyer and I have been discussing the case, and it was in his respectful opinion as well that this application should be brought and this matter should be put on the record in court. So it was in part knowing that it was most likely to go on to the appellate court that we did this.
Why is it extremely rare for a judge to declare a mistrial in a jury verdict?
Because once the jury renders its verdict, it's treated as though the judge is functus, meaning the trial judge's role is only then in sentencing. It's not to go back and question the jury verdict. So once the jury renders a verdict, the verdict is considered, as the Crown said properly today, it's essentially sacrosanct. You don't mess with the jury's verdict unless somehow you can point to something having to do with the jury itself, not with the judge and the prosecutor, where the jury did something wrong. And there was no evidence of that here. The jury did nothing wrong. They did what they were told to do, and they did it to the best of their ability.
Pat, some people are, the majority of the public never see the inside of a courtroom. So some people may think, well, what's wrong with the judge and the Crown having a drink after the verdict was reached? She wasn't the one who handed down the decision. It was the jury. So what was wrong in this?
And you never meet one counsel and one judge in the absence of the other counsel and his client, because there's a section of the code, section 650, says the accused is entitled to be present at every portion where the judicial officer and lawyers before that judicial officer talk about the case. Here it was apparent that they met. They even believed there was something wrong with it based on the comments that were made by the judge. Just as long as Ducharme doesn't walk in here, no one thought it appeared proper. Even the prosecutor that showed up afterwards, they removed the prosecutor from the case because they thought his behavior was inappropriate. And the prosecutor that showed up said it's troubling. But the only difference we had is I was saying she could rectify it. And I acknowledge that most often it's rectified in the Court of Appeal, not here. But I thought because she was a participant, she could say, that's right. It doesn't look right, doesn't seem right, and I played a part in it. I'm going to fix it. Why put him to the expense and trouble of an appeal? But she didn't do that. And so we go on from here. I still did what I felt was necessary to do. I think I did it in the most professional way it can be done. It's not easy to tell a judge, I think you did something wrong and I think you should rectify it. That's not an easy submission to make, but I made this submission because I thought it was appropriate.
Pat, remind us how long you've been practicing law, and tell us, have you ever run into a case like this where you've accused a judge and a prosecutor of impropriety?
I've been practicing law for over 40 years. I passed my 40-year mark last March, and I have never in my career ever made submissions like the submissions I made today. I've never even been aware of a judge doing anything along the lines of what I complained about today.
So Pat, you've never gone up